Hello everyone and welcome to another random bits and pieces segment for my brain, and today, sit a while, for we are starting a brand new Let's Play. At last, Franchise Hockey Manager 7 came out, so we are going to be playing that for a little bit. So those of you who have been following my Franchise Hockey Manager 6 series, welcome back. You know a little bit already how I do things, although this time around I'm going to be changing a few things, trying to make the series a little bit more maybe interesting and not just do one thing. So there's going to be changes on that front. Now, those of you who have not watched that, I did a series in Franchise Hockey Manager 6. I recorded 170 episodes. Of course, you're welcome to go and watch those if you want to see how I do things. And what I did is I used the Ottawa Senators starting when they entered the league in 1992-1993. And I basically just played that until I stopped. So this time around with this version of the game, I'm going to be playing a few different modes. I'm starting with a historical challenge here, and those of you that know me know that I am a Ottawa Senators fan, and you can see that I'm going to be playing as Tampa Bay. So I've been looking at all of the different historical challenges that they had. Some of them are very short. I wanted something that would allow me to play for a little bit. So I picked Tampa Bay because I have a 10-year window to win the Cup. So I have until 2001 and 2002 to win the Stanley Cup for Tampa Bay, starting in 1992 when they joined the league at the same time as Ottawa. So still keeping it into the same territory that I'm familiar with, because I am opening up a little bit more things that I'm going to do, as I have already alluded to. So that's going to be a little bit different. I have a 10-year window to win the Cup, and once that's reached, I'm going to go ahead and do something else. New this year for me as well. Sorry, I had a little brain fart. New for this year as well. Starting in a few weeks, I'm also going to put out some tutorial videos, not only for how this game works, but for hockey rules in general. It's been brought to my attention, or I should say I noticed, some of the people that followed my series don't necessarily always know a whole lot about hockey, and I mean, that's okay. We don't have all been following hockey since we were born, like me. So I'm gonna be doing a few tutorial videos on different subjects to try to help people learn about the Franchise Hockey Manager 7 and how it works, but also rules about hockey, about rosters and whatnot. So keep that in mind. Might want to subscribe if you want to learn more about hockey, so that you are notified when I put out those videos, but that's not going to be for a few weeks. I want to make sure that I put that down on paper first, and that I have a little bit of direction. I tend to just jump in and start recording a lot of the times, and I just go on the fly. I don't ever have notes prepared or anything like that, so that's why sometimes I have brain farts and whatnot. But anyway, so yeah, I do talk a lot. If you're new to my channel, sometimes I do talk a lot, especially games like this that are text-based and not a lot of action. It's a lot more about the interaction with me in the game, me with you, the game with you, and whatnot. So I try to explain things as much as I can. So that is the kind of pace that I have. Alright, so like I said, I picked Tampa Bay because, first of all, it's an era that I'm very familiar with. I grew up in the 80s, and then by the 90s I was in my low teens and whatnot. So I'm pretty familiar with that era. And a 10-year window is pretty good. Hopefully I'm going to win the Cup earlier than that, and then we're going to get to move on to something else. So Now, if you look at the screen, if you're not super familiar with the hockey history, you're going to be wondering what the heck is Tampa Bay doing in the Western Conference, or the Campbell Conference, I should say. Well, when they entered the league, they were put in the Western Conference, even though geographically it doesn't make any kind of sense, but it was to keep kind of an equilibrium between both conferences. So Ottawa joined the East, or the Wales Conference, I should say, and then the Campbell Conference received the Tampa Bay Lighting. It is no, if you don't know much about hockey history, Tampa Bay did draft their expansion draft better than Ottawa, which is why they had a much better first season than Ottawa did. Ottawa, of course, got 24 points in their first season, a whopping 10 wins in 84 games. Tampa Bay did better. I don't remember exactly their first season, but they did better. So we will be playing in the Campbell Conference. There's a few pretty good teams there. Detroit is going to be tough. LA is going to be tough. Chicago is going to be tough for a bit. St. Louis is probably going to be tough. Vancouver is going to be tough. They're pretty much all going to be tough. San Jose, not as much. They had entered the league the year prior, so they are still very much a baby team. So we might have some success with them. Sorry. So the name of my GM is not my real name. I don't disclose my real name. It is my alter ego, Jesse Bonhomme, that I've been using in many games as a name. Now the picture, I'm not too sure what's going on with him. I don't know if I got a botched job of a piercing thing going there, trying to put a chain, or if he really sucks at growing a beard or whatnot. This looks weird to me. Maybe he's just dirty. Maybe he should take a shower or something. Alright, so also you can see I've already scoured the free agents, trying to get me some players to join the team. So I went and made offers to 4 players. Hopefully they join us. So Steve Ruchin, Dwayne Roloson, Alexander Karpatsev, and Alex Selivanov. Now Selivanov played for Tampa Bay in real life around those years, so I'm taking a flyer on him. So those are mostly youngish players that I'm hoping are going to develop, especially Dwayne Roloson. It's going to be primordial for me to win the cup eventually, to have not necessarily the best goaltending, but I'm gonna need, better than Wendell Young and Pat Jablonski in net. So yeah. Now, new with this series as well, I am going to be doing something that has been requested of me multiple times with my Franchise Hockey Manager 6 series, and it is, I am going to be picking up my lines and whatnot. Now, for the preseason and for the start here, I did let the assistant fill it up because it would have taken forever. I prefer to do it like that and then make changes on the fly and then report on those. Now, initially with Franchise Hockey Manager 6, I did not do that because I was very much a baby YouTuber and I wasn't super familiar with what I was doing and everything. But I'm a little bit more comfortable with how I record and everything now. So what I'm going to be doing is that's the type of changes that I'm going to be doing, off camera. Well, not really camera, off recording. And then I'm going to report on those whenever I start recording again. So whenever I start a new episode, if I made changes to lines or anything like that, I'm going to go ahead and report on that. So that's kind of new. I wasn't really doing that. Also, not today because it's only going to be the preseason, but another thing that people have been asking is that I show more games. So the last game of every month we're going to go ahead and play out. So I think it's a good compromise because it takes time, so so I don't want for my videos to be 5 hours long each, because nobody wants to watch that. And already I'm kind of pushing it with my usual video length has been proven to be around 45 minutes to an hour each, and that's a lot of talking and listening for a game that has very little action. I mean, there is action, there's games being played, but you know what I mean, it's a text-based game. So anyway, so yeah, as usual. Now, one thing that's cool that they have added in Franchise Hockey Manager 7 is this here. So that used to not be there in previous versions, so you can see how your coverage is for scouting per country, and then different the provinces here and whatnot. Now, keep in mind, I'm playing historical, so it's not perfect. The way scouting works in historical, unless that change, and I guess we're going to find that out as I sim, is that it mostly just puts everything as a free agent. So I'm not sure about how that's going to work. We're going to see if that changed, but I just wanted to kind of show the graphic here, so that's kind of new. That's kind of neat. So if you start a modern day game, you can see your coverage a lot better here, and then you get to choose who your head scout is and your advanced scout. That's new, that used to not be there. Also, something that I noticed that is new that I kind of like as well. Don't get me wrong, I am a very down-to-earth person. When there's something that I like, I will gladly point it out, but I'm also not a blind fanboy. When there's something that's wrong, I will also point it out. One thing that I did like, and I'm in the wrong window, is when you come here and that you try to make an offer. Let's see if I can revisit one here. So they kind of changed that here. So instead of just using the arrows here and whatnot to raise or lower the offer that you're making, you can go by increments that are here, and then you have those buttons here that are also new instead of going through the action menu here. So it's a very small change. Well, I mean, I don't want to diminish the work the devs made. Maybe it was hard to implement. I have no idea about that. As far as the interface goes, it's a small change, but I think it looks neater like that. So yeah. Also, all of my players are on my roster to start, so hopefully that's something that is going to be a little bit easier to navigate. If you followed my previous series, you know that I had an issue with having to call up for preseason every single player one by one and then send them back down. And then something else that I noticed, and I'm not sure if it was in the previous game or not, is this here, manage jersey numbers. I've given it to the assistant, so that I don't have to give a number to every single player that I call up. I don't remember if it was there in the previous version of the game. I want to say it was not. I could be wrong too. I don't remember coming here to change anything, and I had to change the numbers all the time. Alright, so this is pretty much the team. As you can see, we have some decent players to start with. If you start with Ottawa, you don't have 3 and 4 star players to start, unless you sign Yashin right away. So we have one decent goaltender, which is Wendell Young, and then, after that we have a bunch of half-star players. We have Manon Réaume, the only female... Oh my god, you've got to be kidding me. Oh boy. Okay, so so as you can see, we can't see Manon Réaume. We can only see, her right arm. That's a bug that was in Franchise Hockey Manager 6 as well. It looks like it creeped into Franchise Hockey Manager 7 as well. I would have hoped they would have fixed that, because it's a pain in the butt to fix every single time. Yep. Look at that. All my players are all showing as that, so they don't have like the the face gen. So I'm gonna need to. I'm not gonna do that now. I'm gonna need to see if last year's fix is going to work for this version of the game as well. Which you have to go into your saved file folders and delete all of the face gens, and then exit the game and come back in to have it regenerate. So yeah, it's a little bit annoying. So I wish that wasn't messed up again. Alright, so let's sort by ability so we can see who's actually going to be able to play. So our best player is going to be Brian Bradley, and he starts as a 4-star player, and he's 27, so he's gonna be decent for us for a few years. Might not be there by the end when we're gonna be pushing for the cup, but he's gonna help us out at the start here. Wendell Young, Doug Crossman, Roman Amerlich. So Roman Amerlich was the first round draft pick of Tampa Bay that year. So I've had issues in previous iterations of the game with having him develop properly, so we'll see what happens. Rob Ramage, Mikael Anderson, Rob Zamuner, Adam Creighton, so a lot of kind of young vets, if you would, guys in their late 20s and everything, a couple guys in their 30s, but that was the strategy that Tampa Bay used when they did their expansion draft. They went for a little bit younger players that had a little bit more upside, and Ottawa went with older players that were more proven in the league. So alright, so I'm not gonna go through every single player, but yeah, so what you see here is probably the players that are going to play for us, and then of course I have the guys that I have signed, or that I am attempting to sign anyway. So yeah, so that's about it for my intro. Very lengthy an intro, a lot longer than most YouTubers out there, and that's who I am. Again, I just do auto for my scouts. I just let them go on auto because I know that era of hockey very well, so I don't really need my scouting. The only thing that might change is there's variation in how players develop compared to real life. I found the game, or at least previous iterations of the game, to usually be pretty authentic to how players really developed and whatnot. Sometimes there's surprises, but not all that much. Although this year on their forums, Out of the Park Development mentioned that they have added like another variable for development of players that will make it a little bit more random. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen with that. Maybe that for once Alexander Degg can have a good career instead of dropping, in talent like he did in real life every single time. But anyway, so I think we're gonna go ahead and start simming here. I'm not sure about that continue button. They kind of did the same thing they did with their baseball game, and they have like that giant free estate here with nothing. Okay. Alright, so Karpovtsov is thinking about signing. That's good. Alright, Roloson might sign with us. Alright, Ruchin might come with us, and Silivanov might come with us as well. Alright, so I have 45 contracts to start here. So I have 4 made offers to 4 players. So that leaves me with 1 contract slot here. Of course, I can trade and everything. So we'll see about that. Wait a minute. Is it an option here? Okay, let me pause here. That's not very interesting. Trying to figure out why I can't just do. Well, before I do that, let's see if it continue just sims one day at a time. No, it does not. Okay. All right. So, Steve Urchin sign. All right. So we're gonna have Steve Urchin, or at least we're gonna have his right arm and shoulder here. Cool deal. All right. Let me pause the recording here. I will be right back once I figure out how to sim just one day at a time, and I will be right back. Alright, and I am back, and I found the option that I wanted. So if you go into File and Game Setup, it's going to be right here, always sim day by day, and show home screen after advancing day by day, so that it brings me back to the home screen. There used to be a... oh, wait, does that act... okay, no. Oh, that's weird. So there used to be a home button here in the previous version that you could just click and get right over here right away. They got rid of it, and I thought that clicking on the Tampa Bay button would bring me here, but it does not. So again, if you want to say sim day by day, you come to File, Setup Options, and that's where you're gonna find it. Alright, so let's go ahead and click on, I guess continue is gonna do just one at a time. Alright, what do they say here? Alright, so we have Alexander Karpovtsev, sorry. Another thing with me, sometimes I have, with my French accent, I have problems pronouncing names properly. And you can always correct me. Sometimes I'm just unable to pronounce a player name. You can ask Wade Doublewicks or whatever it's pronounced. Alright, and we got Dwayne Roloson as well. Now, Dwayne Roloson typically should take a few years to develop. That's me kind of gaming the system because I know his career arc usually. But with the new modifications that out of the park development made to the engine, maybe we're going to see him develop a little bit sooner. Oh, no, I have to stop using that. It's the continue button now. So old habits, again, I recorded 170 episodes last year, so... And Selivanov also signed with us. Alright, so we got 4 more players, some more for the, future. And I expect Karpovtsev to play this year. Oh, alright. Oh, I'm curious to see about the new news, if they have added some and everything. There was kind of a bug at the start of last year where the news were always the same thing, and then it got fixed. Alright, so Vyacheslav Fedizov attends leadership seminars. Some say it's impossible to teach an old dog new tricks, but try saying that to 34-year-old Vyacheslav Fedizov of New Jersey, of course. Fedizov attended a New Jersey leadership conference last Sunday, hoping to hone his skills in that area. I'm getting up there in age now, and I want to make sure I can serve as a mentor to some of the young guys coming up, said Fedizov, known league-wide for his fostering of young players. I want to be able to more effectively pass down the knowledge I've obtained to the younger guys, so we all get to see some better hockey. Alright. We all like to watch better hockey. Good move. Okay, so preseason starts in 25 days. I have pretty much set my lineup. I don't have anybody on the trading block right now. I kind of want to see how things are going to go in preseason before I make a decision regarding that. I always want to go to that play button. They changed it on me. So not a whole lot happening here. Oh, I like how they kind of changed that here. Right, so I've put down Murdoch as my scouting director, or my head scout, or whatever they call it. And now instead of giving me just random uh, players with everything, they kind of put a top 10 of the best players available for us right now. Now I was tempted to try to send a contract offer to Larionov, but I did that last year with the Suns, and it didn't pan out very well. So he got hurt a lot and didn't really produce. So this year I'm steering clear. Plus I have Brian Bradley. The Suns are really thin at center when you start. I cannot get over my picture there. I have no idea what's going on under that loop. Alright. Oh, so I've also set training to auto. There's just some things I won't be doing. I mean, it's cool that all the options are there and everything, but for the sake of a video and everything, I kind of have to pick and choose what I'm gonna do. So training is set on auto, scouting is set on auto, my initial lines and tactics are set to auto, but I will change that as we go. Alright, let's see. So Selivanov is feeling not that good. Karpovtsev. Okay, so those are the new players that I've signed, and we tend to get those emails once a month telling us about how the new players adjust to their new environment and everything. All right. Again, not a lot of news right now. Now, keep in mind, at the start of the 90s, the free agents were not the free agent situation was not exactly the same as it is nowadays around 2020. Free agents of quality were a lot rarer. It was a lot rarer for teams to let go of talented players, so it's not like we're going to be able to fetch, a really good player off a free agency like, a Jagger or something. Well, that's an extreme comparison, but, a Pat LaFontaine or anything like that, those players won't be hitting free agency. That's just not how free agency worked back then. It's really around 2000 or so that free agency turned a little bit more to what we're used to see now. And trade deadlines and everything. That's something I hope they have kind of improved a little bit, the trade deadline. I'm hoping to see a little bit more deals around that time. Not sure if we're going to see it or not. But... Oh. Alright, so Gusarov endows scholarships at Hometown College. When it comes to making a long-lasting impact, 28-year-old defenseman Alexei Gusarov of the Quebec Nordiques has it all figured out. By recently endowing a scholarship at a university in his hometown, helped make sure that the future generations have similar opportunities to his. I felt a sense of obligation to do this, certainly, said the Moscow-born Gusarov, but it wasn't, oh boy, another chore. It's recognizing that not everyone is as fortunate as I am and finding a way to help change that. Without prompting, Gusarov is the first to tell you that he had some lucky breaks throughout his life. His parents were able to support him with travel for hockey, and he never had to worry about his equipment or his access to practice facilities. My parents, wow, they mean everything to me, Gusarov explained. They were there for every Squirts hockey game, every tryout, every midweek trip, an hour each way to play a game, every call-up, and every setback at the professional level. I never had to worry when they were around. But I know that's not a guarantee. To even think about attending college or playing a sport or learning a musical instrument is a stretch for so many people. That is why starting this fall, students can apply to the Gusarov Endowed Scholarship to help further their education or help or help offset costs incurred while doing an internship or an apprenticeship. It's a small gesture, but I know my parents would be proud to see their legacy carried on this way, he said. I can't wait to see what the next group of young adults can accomplish in life. Alright, so there's a little bit of mystique, if you want, around news like that. That makes Gusarov a better person, but what it changes as far as the stats and everything, that's a little bit up in the air. The previous one that we saw with Fetisov is a little bit more straightforward. His leadership went up, but here, is greed went down or something like that. I mean, that would make sense, but it's a little bit harder to figure out. So we're going to be getting news like that from time to time. Sometimes they improve your players, and we definitely could use that. Alright, so yeah, preseason starts in 4 days. Alright, so I am going to come back here and go to... Alright. And then I'm gonna go to the tactics. Alright, now I'm only setting it with the assistant for preseason. I will be taking charge and show you after that when we go ahead and play October. I'm gonna go ahead and show you what I decided on, because I'm gonna go ahead and pick who makes the team and whatnot after preseason here. Alright, so please set your captains. Oh, okay. So I usually don't go too crazy here. I usually go to the mental here and look at leadership and see who would make a great captain. And Brian Bradley was my first choice, and he's the one with the most leadership. So I'm going to make you a captain. And then Bergeron and Rob Ramage are both a 15. So yeah, that's me not really thinking too much into it. Of course, sometimes that might change and whatnot. I don't always go with the highest ones, depending on if I want to move somebody soon or something like that, but that's not the case right now, so we're just not gonna worry about it right now and just go with those guys. Alright. Alright, so we are ready to play. This is a preseason game, so it's not going to count. Now, there are 7 preseason games every year, I believe. Is it still the case? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. So, and they're kind of random. They're at least I think. I don't think they're according to real life. It doesn't make much sense with the type of schedule that I'm looking at. So, anyway. Alright, so let's go ahead and go. So this is what we're going with for the first preseason game. Alright. That is so annoying. I'm gonna try to fix that before the next video. Hopefully the same fix works so that, you know, we get to see that. Alright, so the Rangers are going to go with Mike Richter in net, and then we're going to go with Wendell Young here for this particular game. Now, again, for preseason, I'm just going to sim games. Once I start going month by month, I'm going to play the last game of every month. I think that's a good compromise. Alright, so let's go ahead and sim that here. Oh, look at us. We actually won this 4-1. Good start for the Lightning here in preseason. So the Lightning with a 4-1 victory against the Rangers. Alright, so that didn't change too much. That's pretty much exactly the same thing, which is good. They don't have to reinvent the wheel for absolutely every single window in the game. Alright, so that's a 4-1 victory. We were outshot 35-20. I expect that's gonna happen quite a bit. Danton Cole was the first star of the game. He had a hat trick, 3 goals. Wendell Young was the second star. He had 34 saves, and Doug Crossman was the third star with 2 assists. Alright, so it was in Tampa Bay. We had a whopping 7,873 people in attendance. Hopefully that's a little bit fixed. There was a little bit of an issue with attendance in the previous version of the game, so hopefully it's not as quote-unquote severe in this version. Alright, so in the first period we had the first goal scored by one of our assistant captains. Rob Ramage scored, and it was a short-handed goal assisted by Doug Crossman and Rob Zamuner. Then the Rangers tied the game, but about 4 minutes later Danton Cole scored his first of the game. That was a power play goal from Doug Crossman and Mikael Anderson, and after one, Tampa Bay was up 2-1. Then in the second period, Danton Cole scored another power play goal from Mikael Anderson and Brian Bradley. 3-1 Tampa Bay after 2. And there was a fight here. Rob Ramage and Mark Messier got into a scrap. Wow. Now, Messier was, was a physical guy and everything. So, yeah, Rob Ramage took Mark Messier out of his game. And then in the third period, Danton Cole scored his third goal of the game, his third power play goal of the game, assisted by Brian Bradley, and it was 4-1. And there was another fight between Mike Hartman and Chris King. And that was it. We won 4-1. Nice little game there. Alright. So Danton Cole has a great game, as we saw. He had a hat trick against the Rangers, and then Greg Gilbert lights the lamp, also got a hat trick for Chicago against New Jersey. Sadly, it doesn't count. It's only preseason. Alright, so second preseason game is going to be at New York Islanders. So we're going to go ahead and continue here. Let's see if I come here. If I come here, I wonder if they're gonna put different... No, okay. Alright. I always have the instinct to go click on play. I need to forget that button. That's not doing what I want. Alright, so play game at New York Islanders. Alright, so we're going with the same lineup. That's going to be a... That's going to be a downside of being the head coach as well, is that it's not rotating players like it was in the previous game, because I had an head coach that would go ahead and use preseason to kind of rotate players and everything and make everybody play a little bit. Alright. So we're going with Wendell Young. The Islanders are going with Mark Fitzpatrick. And let's see if we can get a second victory in a row. We actually did. We won 2-1. Wow, Tampa Bay here is surprising in preseason. And it's the infancy of their franchise too. Oh, we actually outshot the Islanders 35-20. Doug Crossman was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Ray Ferraro was the second star of the game with an assist. And Ken Hodge was the third star with a goal. Alright, so Ken Hodge opened up the scoring in the first period from Doug Crossman and Mike Hartman. It was 1-0 Tampa Bay after 1. Then in the second period, the Islanders tied the game. but about 6 minutes later, Doug Crossman scored on the power play from Rob Ramage and Mikael Anderson, and it was a 2-1 score for Tampa Bay after 2. And that would hold all the way till the end of the game, and we actually won this 2-1. Wow. Who would have guessed? Glenn Anderson has a great game. Glenn Anderson, 31 years old, now playing for Toronto. He had a hat-trick against Detroit. And Yuka Temi hurt while helping a friend move. So Ottawa goalie Yuka Temi was injured yesterday while helping a friend moving into a new house. Temi is reportedly suffering from back stiffness and is expected to be out of commission for up to 2 weeks. Alright, so he was one of the free agents that I saw. I didn't sign him or anything, but I saw him, so it looks like Ottawa did sign him. It's going to be interesting to see how the Sens fare now that I'm not in control of them. At least it's going to be interesting for me. Maybe not for you, but it will be interesting for me. Alright, so let's go ahead and host the Buffalo Sabres. So one thing that usually I do is I show the other team, and I kind of forgot to do that with the Rangers and with the Islanders. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look here at... Oh, look at that. Hey, that's new. I like that. Alright, so looks like they have tryouts now for training camp or for preseason, so that's what TO would mean here. So Smirnov doesn't have a contract, see, but he's trying to get a job in Buffalo here. Okay, that's cool. Alright, so Buffalo should be pretty good. They have Dominic Hasek and Darren Pupa in net, so as long as Hasek is in net, it's going to be pretty good. On D, they have Doug Bodger, Bill Older, Grant Ledyard, Mike Ramsey, Richard Schmelik, Petr Svoboda, Ken Sutton, and Smirnov and Keith Carney. That's a pretty decent D. Then up front, Dave Andreychuk should be pretty good. Yuri Emelev, Brad May, Randy Wood, Bob Corkum, Dave Anna, and Dale Awarchuk should be pretty good. Pat LaFontaine should be pretty good. Bob Sweeney, Donald Odette, Alexander McGillney should be pretty good, and Wayne Presley. So Buffalo should have a pretty good team here. No, I keep going to the play button. I need to stop that. Alright, let's see what we can do here. So Darren Pupa's going to be in net. We're going to go with Wendell Young. And we lost this one 8-6. So yeah, that was a pretty good Buffalo team, and they brought it to us. So I think that's a little bit more representative of the kind of games we should expect this season from Tampa Bay until I kind of put the team into shape. Dear God, all of the scoring happened in the first almost. That's crazy. Anyway, we were outshot 43-28 in that game. Pat LaFontaine was the first star of the game. He had 2 goals and 2 assists. Danton Cole was the second star of the game with 3 assists. And Petr Svoboda was the third star with 3 assists. We had 8,056 people in preseason that probably left the game after the first period because that was crazy. Or they stayed because there were so many goals. So it looks like the... delegation of the stars follows the same pattern as last year. So the winning team, in most situations, the winning team is going to get the first and third star, and then the losing team gets the second star. 90% of the time that's how it happens, unless it's a blowout or a low scoring shutout. Then it follows different patterns, but this is what we should expect. Wow. So, okay. Buffalo scored 3 goals. And it was barely past the halfway mark of the first period. Then we scored twice. Doug Crossman scored on the power play from Danton Cole and Rob Ramage, and then Roman Amerlik scored on the power play as well from Mike Hartman and Ken Hudge. It was 3-2 Buffalo at that point, but then they scored 5 more goals before the end of the period, made it 8-2. And then we scored with 4 seconds left in the period. That was Brian Bradley from Michael Anderson and Danton Cole. So after 1, it was 8-3 Buffalo. Wow, that's crazy. Right, lots of penalties as well. Then in the second period, Adam Creighton scored on the power play from Rob Zabuner and Doug Crossman. And then Brian Bradley scored on the power play as well from Rob Ramage and Danton Cole. 8-5 Buffalo after 2. There was a fight between Mike Hartman and Brad May. And then in the third period, we had Doug Crossman score from Mike Hartman and Tim Berglund. And 8-6 was the final score. All right. Yeah, that's crazy. That was a crazy first period. All right, memorable night for Pavel Bure. He had a hat trick for Vancouver against the Sharks. No one could stop Peter Bundroff of Washington. He had 3 goals and an assist against Hartford. And Ron Francis is hurt, but he's only going to be out for 6 days. He has a strained oblique muscle. So Ron Francis, of course, playing in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is the team that won the Cup last year. In my universe, so in 1991, Pittsburgh, or 1991-1992, Pittsburgh is a team that won the Cup, and they have a very good team, and they are probably going to repeat unless they have a lot of injuries or that they make some stupid trades. But yeah, that should be one of the contenders every year for sure, at least at the start here. All right, so nope. Go ahead and come here. Right, so I'm going to need to figure out what I want to do for preseason for the future seasons. I don't really like having all of the players play every game, but I don't have a way to do it fast where I change it, so I'm going to just live with it for now. All right, so we are going to be playing in Boston. So we are 2-1 right now in preseason. Right, so Boston also have a tryout player, Veritsky. So maybe I should use that. I didn't even know it was in the game. I definitely probably should go ahead and give that a shot for future seasons. Alright, so Boston has Régent Lemelin and Andy Moog in net. So Andy Moog is pretty good, but he's getting a little bit older. Glenn Wesley, Glenn Featherstone, Ray Bourque, Gordon Murphy, I think it's David Shaw. Yeah, David Shaw, Bob Beers, Brent Ashton, Ted Donato, Dimitri Kavartalnov, Reed, Veritsky on tryout, Joey Junot, Adam Oates, Dave Poulin, Ruzicka, VC, Stumpel, Duris, Hines, Leach, and Cam Neely. Alright, so it's also a pretty decent team. Not a lot of half-star players or anything like that. Alright, we're going to go ahead and give it our all here. Hopefully we can win. Wendell Young's going to be in net again. Andy Moog is going to be in net for Boston. And we are going to go ahead and sim this game. Oh, we lost 4-2. So not as disastrous as the previous game against Buffalo, but it's still a loss. Alright, so we were outshot 43-27 in that game. Joey Junot was the first star of the game. He had 2 goals. Brian Bradley was the second star with a goal and an assist. And Cam Neely was the third star with a goal and an assist as well. Alright, so Adam Oates opened up the scoring in the first period. That was a power play goal from Cam Neely and Ray Bourque, and it was 1-0 Boston after 1. And then in the second period, Danton Cole scored for us from Alain Cote and Brian Bradley, tied the game at 1, but Boston scored about 2 minutes later, made it 2-1, and then we tied the game again with Brian Bradley scoring a power play goal from Danton Cole and Michael Anderson, tied at 2 after 2. We went into the third period tied, and we had our hopes up. But Boston scored twice, and they ran away with the win 4-2. Doesn't really matter because it's preseason, so we won't worry about it too much. All right, memorable game for Per Juice of the Rangers. He had 3 goals and an assist against the Sharks. Pretty good game. And now we are playing against my nemesis, the Montreal Canadiens. Now, those of you who know me that have been following my other series know that I do not like the Montreal Canadiens at all. So I hope I can win against them. Sadly, they probably have a pretty good team. They have 2 players on tryout, 2 goaltenders. They have Sergei Abramov and Eduard Hartmann. Okay. Alright, so Frederic Chabot and Patrick Roy net. Of course, Patrick Roy is, a 5-star goaltender, and he's only 26, so he's going to be good for quite a while. Chances are Montreal is not going to trade him like they did in real life. JJ Daniel, Kevin Haller, Mathieu Schneider, Peter Popovich, Patrice Brisebois, Eric Desjardins, and Lyle Odeline are the defensemen. Gilbert Dion, John Leclerc, Guy Carbonneau, Vincent Danfous, Paul DiPietro, Stéphane Lebeau, Kirk Muller, Brian Skrulod, Patrick Karnback, Jesse Bélanger, Brian Bellows, and Mike Keane up front. So that's a pretty decent team. Maybe not as strong as Buffalo and Boston, but they do have Patrick Roy net, so that changes basically everything. Alright, let's go ahead and play here. So Frédéric Chabot is going to be in net for Montreal. We are going with Wendell Young because I'm not changing anything for preseason. And we lost 3-1 to the Montreal Canadiens. Alright, so we were outshot 42-31. John Leclerc was the first star of the game. He had 2 goals. Mikael Anderson was the second star with an assist. And Mike Keane was the third star with 2 assists. The game was in Tampa Bay. We had 7,332 people in attendance for this game. Montreal scored first, and then Marc Bergevin, who in real life is Montreal's GM right now, but right now he's playing for me, he's playing D. He scored, assisted by Mikael Anderson, so it was tied at 1 after 1. Then there was a fight between Mike Hartman and Lyle Odeline. Knowing Lyle Odeline, he probably had a big smile in his face as he was fighting. That was a kind of a running joke in Quebec where I lived when I was younger. Lyle Odeline always had like that big smile in his face. So, when he was fighting, it looks like he was really enjoying it. Now, maybe he was, I don't know. That's just how he was. Right, and then nobody scored in the second period, and in the third period, Montreal scored twice to take a 3-1 lead, and they held on to it, and they won this game. Oh, Danton Cole is injured. I'm going to need to figure this out. Right, I'm just going to click on continue and figure it out now. Oh, he's day-to-day, okay. With a bruised wrist. Is it a playable injury? No. Alright, so I'm going to come to my friend, the assistant. Oh, you're not going to put anybody there? There you go. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and play in Minnesota, and then we're going to play at home against Chicago, and that's going to conclude preseason and the first video. Getting my scouting update from Don Murdoch. It's pretty much the same thing. Now, is Yukatemi on tryout, or did they sign him? Because it still shows that he would be available to me. I guess there's one way to find out, and it's to go and check. No, they signed him. No, he's on tryout. Okay. Alright, and then Sergei Fokin is on tryout as well. Alright. There we go. Alright, so we are in Minnesota to play against the North Stars. Alright, oh, looks like they have an injury. Alright, so Minnesota has John Casey and Darcy Wakaluk in net, and then Darian Atcher, I think it's Jim Johnson. Yep, Craig Ludwig, Richard Matvichuk, Mark Tenorti, and Tommy Shodin on D. So the goaltending and the D is so-so. Ulf Dallin, Gaetan Duchesne, Mike McPhee is hurt. He's not going to play. Brian Propp, what was his name? Ilka or Ilya Sinisalo, something like that. Ika Sinisalo. Neil Broughton, Todd Lake, Dave Gagne, Mike Modano, Quinn Smith, Miller, Courtnall Litzanen, and Trent Klatt. Alright. There's definitely talent on that team. Alright, let's go ahead and play against the Minnesota North Stars. Oh my god, I always hit that play button. Alright, so Wendell Young in net for us again. John Casey in net for Minnesota. And we lost 6-3. Alright, so we were outshot 45-23 in that game. Dave Gagne was the first star of the game. He had a goal and 2 assists. Dan Quinn was the second star of the game. He had 2 goals and an assist. And Jere Lehtinen was the third star with a goal and an assist. Alright, so Minnesota took a 2-0 lead into the first period, and then we scored 3 times. Adam Creighton scored on the power play from Brian Bradley and Rob Ramage, then Rob DiMaio from Mark Bergevin and Stéphane Richer, and then Brian Bradley from Anne Cote and Michael Anderson. It was a 3-2 lead for Tampa Bay after 1. There was also a fight between Jim Johnson and Mike Hartman. Then in the second period, Minnesota tied the game at 3 with a Dan Quinn goal. And we were tied at 3 after 2. And then in the third period, Minnesota ran away with the win. Notably with a couple goals from Tommy Schoening. And that was pretty much it. So we couldn't hold on to the lead that we had after the first period. And we lost this game. Alright, and then we have a game at home against Chicago. That's the last game of preseason. And then we're going to get to see what we do. So let's take a look at the Blackhawks here. Oh, they have a few injuries. Right, so the Blackhawks have Ed Belfour and Jimmy Waite in net. Now, of course, as long as Belfour is in net, that's going to be pretty good. Oh, and then they also have another goaltender that's on tryout. Tosio. Not familiar with him. Okay, Nato Tosio. And then on D, they have Kravchuk, Marchment, Smith, Brown, Chelios, and Francisek Kucera. So decent D, especially when you have Chris Chelios. That's probably going to play until he's 73 or something. Greg Gilbert, Michel Goulet, Stéphane Matteau, Tony Urkus, Mike Hudson, Jeremy Roenick, Christian Rutu. One of the Sutter brother, probably Brent, I would think. Yeah, Brent Sutter, but he's hurt. He's not going to play. Bikov is on tryout. Might get a spot. Dirk Graham, Steve Larmer is hurt, but he might play. Jocelyn Lemieux, Brian Noonan, and Dave Christian. Alright, so there's a lot of talent in Chicago, but a few weaknesses as well. Maybe we're going to be able to sneak in a win. And ironically, or maybe not, but we are going to be opening the season at home against Chicago. So the team we're facing right now is our first real opponent in the regular season. Alright, let's go ahead and do that. So Renato Tosio in net for them, Wendell Young in net for us. And we lost 4-3 in overtime. So we won the first 2 games of the preseason, and then we lost the last 5. Now keep in mind, this is 1992, so losing in overtime doesn't give you a point, it just gives you a loss. Alright, so shots were tied, 35 apiece. Jeremy Roenick was the first star of the game, he had 2 assists. Ken Hodge was the second star of the game, he had a goal. And Igor Kravchuk was the third star with a goal as well. 7,508 people in attendance for this game. Chicago scored first in the first period, and then Mikael Anderson tied the game on the power play from Doug Crossman and Brian Bradley. It was tied at 1 after 1. Then in the second period, Chicago scored to take the lead, and we tied the game again, with Shane Stevenson scoring from Mikael Anderson and Rob DiMaio. But then Chicago took the lead again, and it was 3-2 Chicago after 2. And then in the third period, Ken Hodge scored from Roman Amerlik and Mike Hartman, tied the game at 3. The game went in overtime, and then Brian Noonan played the quote-unquote hero. Doesn't really matter because it's preseason, but he's the one who scored the game winner, and Chicago won this 4-3. All right. Now let's see if there's anything new here right before. Doesn't look like it. Good game for Joe Mullen with Pittsburgh. He had 4 assists against the Quebec Nordiques. A night to remember for Wayne Gretzky, who had 4 assists against St. Louis. And Yari Curry keeps fans on their feet all night with a hat trick in that same game against the Blues. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and save the game. So, alright folks, those of you that are familiar with my format, you know that's where I'm going to go ahead and stop, but in a nutshell, this is me, this is what I do with this particular game. You will see quite a few videos from me with that game. Again, I did 170 for Franchise Hockey Manager 6, probably one of the YouTubers that did the most, if not the most. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and stop here for today. So as usual, I do want to thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you've liked the video. And if you did, please feel free to like, subscribe, share, comment, all of that good stuff. And until I roll this game again, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.